All right. Let's start this thing up. Fucking well.
Well.
If it isn't Jesse Lubbers.
That's me.
Jesus Christ, dude. First of all, thanks for doing this. I can't believe we haven't done this.
I can't believe I agreed to it.
I know.
I think I did this on a whim, or it was your birthday maybe.
Yeah.
And then I was like, maybe they'll just forget.
When Cass told me you wanted to do it, I was like, he doesn't want to do it. He will do it, but I don't think he wants to. And she's like, no, he wants to. And I was like, all right, whatever. I'll believe it.
I want to. I wanted to leading up to it. I will be happy I did it later on.
Yeah.
But the before and after is.
I mean, I tried getting my dad on here for 3 years. I was like, hey, you want to be episode 50? He's like, yeah, sure. Then episode 100 comes around. Episode 150, I think we had him on episode 201. And now we're at episode 249. Here with my cousin, my best friend, closest thing I've ever had to a brother, Jesse Lubbers. Maybe I'm the closest thing you've had to a brother in a way, too.
That may be true. It is interesting how what family means, and you give what you get. So yeah. I would consider you my brother.
Yeah, I think we got really lucky in that we grew up down the street from each other. We're a grade apart, and your parents had already raised 2 upstanding citizens, and you were like the rascal of the bunch. So like we just got to spend a lot of time together, ridiculous amounts of time.
My parents, they were like, we did the hard work. We raised 2 kids. This third one, who else would like to raise this child?
Yeah.
Any takers.
Yeah.
Grandmas, sisters. So ended up at your house. I spent summers in Puerto Rico and did everything besides spend time with my parents growing up.
Yeah. Which was, I mean, it worked out great. It worked out great for us. Even coming down here, even when I would come down here and spend the night and whatever, it didn't feel like parents were around.
No. I just wonder what those conversations were like. Like, hey, we're going to sleep over at Jesse's. Does anybody check? Is Jesse's parents home?
Yeah, exactly.
Do my parents know that there's 5 kids sleeping in the back? Probably not.
Oh, man.
Because it's not like there was like a family dinner and there was like a head count of like, oh, kids are coming over.
Yeah.
It's like,
Was there dinner at all?
No. I can't think of a time Sean ate dinner with my family.
No. You ate dinner with my family a million times, but I've eaten a lot of meals down here, but it's always like a ziti and meatball spread, like at a party or whatever. But I always wondered, I'm like, what does Jesse eat? I go over there for a sleepover, and the only thing in the fridge is like 3 cans of Miller Lite and like frozen Stromboli, maybe some Fruity Pebbles or something like that. Mm-hmm. Man, it would stress me out. You know, and I'm not even like a big eater or whatever, but I'd be like, what the fuck? What are we going to eat? What are we doing tonight?
I guess the best is when we had parties, there was leftovers for a few days, and then I would just go to a grandma's or your house, and Jack would make some pork chops or something like that.
The cherry on top of there being no food or anything to drink is your water supply growing up was from the brook. Your dad just dropped a pump in the brook.
Yeah.
And it fed into the house, and like you couldn't drink that water. Like even in a moment of desperation, you really don't want to drink that water.
I guess we could have not told people that's what was happening, but it was probably better or funnier to tell people and have them question it. Like, I guess I'm just not going to drink anything because the iced tea is made with, or Crystal Light, whatever my mom was drinking at the time. That was made with the brook water.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And you'd go to get in the shower, and you'd like turn on the shower, and it'd be like sand would come out.
Yeah, there's always sand in the shower and sand in the clothes when you got it out of the dryer.
Yeah, I mean, like growing up down here must have felt like kind of like, I don't know, kind of how I think about camping or whatever, 1 bathroom for 5 people, there was always a septic, like it feel like the septic was an issue.
Yeah. I feel like that happened a lot when I was younger, but now that I own this house, I'm just like, when do I have to worry about this?
Yeah.
But maybe I was the problem, like flushing things down the toilet. I'm not sure. But.
Definitely.
Didn't you guys have goats and stuff too? And ferrets and...
Yeah, there was a wide array of animals growing up.
Peacocks.
They're all buried around here,
Were you guys... I feel like Sean has so many stories about, not being able to sleep at your house because he always thought there was like a ferret in his bed.
There was.
Yeah, like it was interesting. I don't know the rationale. I don't know what my parents talked about before they got an animal. Like it's like all of a sudden one day 3 goats come in the house, right?
Yeah.
And there's 3 of us, so each son gets a goat, I guess, and we get to name it. Did that happen that day? My dad sees 3 goats and is like, I'm just going to buy some goats.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like, or did my parents like sit there in the spring and like, you know what? I think we should, buy some goats. I think it'll be good for the kids. Like, I don't think these conversations were happening because I think the goats came into the house and my dad's like, wait, where are these goats going to sleep? And then I think we had this like old, like dog house that I think we made 3 goats sleep in. That was probably like a 2x3 for the first night. And then we bought some fencing and put around my sandbox, and the goats just took over my childhood sandbox, and that's where they were. And then eventually built something bigger. But I was like, I think my dad just came home one day with something.
Spur of the moment.
Like all of a sudden a pig is in the house. And I was like,
Yeah.
and then they would have a pig, and then they would just still leave. Like they would disappear. And I remember we had that party one time, and there was Boris the pig was like running around the party. I was like, did my parents give me directions what to do with this pig? Like there was just a pig in the house. I don't know where he was supposed to be.
When I think about it, actually, because we always talk about the mistakes our parents made and how like crazy our upbringing was and everything, but then it's like the way that you guys were raised like made you really adaptable. Like I don't know, it made you smarter. There wasn't a lot of explanation, It's just like
no explanation. Yeah, it's like Maria always says I have a lot of patience because I think like situations arise and you kind of just have to deal with them. You can't overreact to them, and I just learned to go with the flow.
Yeah.
Like goats are in the house. I guess we now have goats. My parents, they would just always come home with a dog, like a new dog. Like, no, Jesse, would you like to have a dog? Or what dog would you like to get? And like maybe go to the pet store or, a breeder or whatever. And they would just come home. My dad's like, oh, we got this Louie. I was in St. Louis and there was a dog, and I now have a dog named Louie. I was like, I hated that. But it was just always like, a little stress, but like, what can you do? You just have to deal with it.
You just go with the flow. I remember you guys put up an electric fence. That was an interesting era of being down here, the electric fence era.
Well, it's like the ripple effect of having a goat is they get bigger and bigger, and then we got more goats, and then they take over half the property, and they were like, okay, well, we don't want them jumping in the pool, or like the neighbors we'd get called from the neighbors that there was a goat somewhere else, so we surround the fence or the property with this electric fence, which was more of a hazard to us.
Of
I think
course.
Goats were way smarter than me and my friends.
Yeah.
There's this electric fence that I had a few run-ins with, and I always lost.
Oh yeah, I remember there was like a slush ice puddle. I was walking by and like slipped, and you grabbed the electric. Yeah. You had a cattle prod that I literally saw cricket stick in the side of you and hit you with, and you went down, man.
Well, that was actually Jamie.
Oh,
Jamie
yeah,
did that.
Okay, that was
Christopher that's not that brother.
Yeah.
Jamie's the one that would stick me with a cattle prod.
Yeah.
But then
and he'd be proud of it to this day, probably.
Yes, but I think my dad hit him even harder after that with the cattle prod. So.
Oh yeah. Oh my God. He's like, okay, yeah, all right. That's it's permissible, but you're gonna get yours now.
Yeah.
We should talk about Bob Lubbers, but before we even get into our shit. Your dad really paved the way. Like, I mean, he's an old school wild man. Like, I don't even know if they make them like that anymore. I don't know how a person could become like that now.
He took full advantage of the era of there not being
cameras.
He's
really a man of the times, I would say.
I would say, the think of the spectrum of Bob Lubbers. There is there a guy more about stealing and taking things that aren't his, but then also maybe the most trustworthy man that
generous.
And generous.
The most generous.
I'm not going to call him Robin Hood, but then, like his out wild side, but then you see him as Uncle Bob, and he's the most compassionate person with everybody. But
has sat with Caitlin more than anyone I can think of and just played Connect 4 with her, and she still cherishes that stuff, Yeah, extremely generous, but also could be scary,
Yeah.
There's the duality of your dad was kind of wild.
Yeah. I mean, the amount I talk about my upbringing and my parents being somewhat absent, and then because that was the time that they wanted together. Like they were very
in
love and focused on spending time together.
Yeah.
But then on other times, his generosity with this time of helping everybody with every project, whether he knew what he was doing or not, he may break. I think he broke your guys' heating system in your house or something like that.
Oh, I woke up one morning at my parents' house to the smell of burning plastic, and I'm like, what the fuck? I wake up and I go to turn on the light. The light won't go on. him and my dad were messing around up in the wiring and fucking fried my computer, my TV, everything. And I was like, Bob, what the fuck? I can't get it. He said, let me take care of it. He just took everything that fried out and returned it to me like 3 days later, all fixed. I don't even know where he could have taken it or what the fuck was that?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, he would be the guy that everyone would call. Grandma, my parents, you name it. Anybody that needed anything would call your dad. You know, he was born, raised in the Bronx, and then spent, I don't know what age, started really spending a lot more time up here. We're like an hour and a half, hour north of the city.
Yeah, hopefully nobody in my family watches this because I'll probably have it all wrong. But yeah, it was like his teenage years, started spending the summers up here with his grandmother, my great-grandmother, who lived down the street from my mother's side of the family. And so, yeah, it was his teen years, this coming up here, and, you know, basically moved up or pursued my mother and, you know, just after high school, started working. They were living in the Bronx for a couple of years before they bought this property. You know, a place where they used to go hang out and campfires and smash the windows of the shack that was here.
So they bought the shack.
Yeah, because they wanted to move close to family, and you know the little village was just developing, and this was on the outskirts, kind of a nice little property, and they decided to wing it out here. Like you said, it's a mile away from suburbia, or like a little bit suburban area, and like it feels like you're in the middle of nowhere.
You can't see anyone else. You can't hear anyone else back here. It's kind of wild. We've had so many adventures, but to think that maybe we'll get a shot of the house to insert here or whatever, but to think that this started as like a living room shack, and your parent, it was like their whole life. It was a project. It was like always, you know.
Yeah. And it was always, my mom tells me when I was thinking about moving back here, she's like, this was never your dad's dream home, which is interesting for me to think about. Like, he wanted to get something as like a starter home and then go do something else was the plan. But then little by little, built on, and, you know, was basically still completing projects, you know, to the day he died. So.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, no, when you walked me through it the house when I first met you, it was like, oh, this is where Jesse Cricket and Jamie all slept in this like bedroom that was like this big.
That's like what, 8 by 8? It's like smaller than a prison cell, and the ceilings are low.
Yeah, the ceilings were low.
All three of you guys are in there.
And my dad loved skylights, dome light, and there was a dome in the middle that just leaked all the time. So there was like 3 of us in this prison cell, and it was carpeted walls. I don't know what I guess they just didn't want to buy paint. They just had some extra carpet. Carpeted the walls.
Yeah.
The ceiling was corkboard.
Yeah.
And this little bubble wasn't a real window. It was just a bubble that I don't know where he found it. This little dome, and it was in the middle of the room, always leaking.
Always generating heat too. You know what I mean? Like pretty crazy. I mean, I remember like in the summers I'd be so excited. I'd like get up in the morning and it's summer, and my mom would be like, okay, you know, ride your bike down to Jesse's. I'd show up down here at like 10:30 in the morning. I'm like, come in. I'm like, it's quiet as a mouse, and I'm like, everyone's still asleep. Like, to me, that was so far out because we're in like such a young family, you know, 4 kids all close in age, and like my parents were in the opposite stage of their parenting than yours.
Yeah,
you know, they were like on it, you know, driving us all over the fucking place. And I come down here and everyone's asleep at 10:30. I would sleep over here, and I could not believe like nobody would be up till like 11 o'clock in the morning. But I think about it, like your dad was commuting. Like I think about where he was commuting to, and I'm like, how exhausted this guy must have been just from that, you know.
Was there a point where you realized, like how much of a legend your dad was, like while he was alive or when you were a kid?
That's a good question, because obviously when he passed away, you felt it, but I think I always knew, and I didn't like to think about it because like sometimes I got like mad because he was Uncle Bobby.
Yeah.
Not like, you know, someone that you would say he's the best father in the world. I mean, I think he was a pretty great father, but like he was more known as this amazing guy at work, this amazing uncle and friends to everybody.
Yeah.
It just felt like my time with him was very short.
Yeah.
And so I could get mad at him growing up a lot and want to leave. I didn't see him as that until much later on. And then I like think about many, many regrets. And because I would mess with my parents later in life, and I started moving away, and then that's when they wanted to see me.
Yeah.
And so they would say, hey, Jesse, we're going to come visit you in Corning, New York, where I was living for a minute.
Yeah.
And I was like, actually, I'm going to be out of town. I was like, you guys can stay at the hotel, because I was like living at a hotel. And they actually took me up on it, and they stayed in my hotel and like had a great weekend in Corning, New York without me. And I just like left to go somewhere else. They did the same thing in Pittsburgh. They were like, hey, we're going to drive to Florida. We're going to take the long route and drive by Pittsburgh. We want to see your apartment and where you're living. And I was like, actually, I'm out of town. You can stay there, and you can ride this little gondola. And they did it. Like, they came all the way out there, had a great time.
You're like, oh, now you're interested in me?
Yeah.
I'm busy, bro.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess it was my way to get back, but now it's like a little bit of a regret
Yeah.
of like not getting to spend the time with them.
No, it was cute. I remember we were in Washington, D.C. once, like having a fucking insane blackout weekend, and like your parents were just there in the middle of it for a little bit. You know?
Yeah, like I was just hanging out with you guys. I don't even know how they knew I was in Washington.
Yeah.
I think I had driven from like Pittsburgh. And they're like, oh, we're going to Florida. Like, well, this
Stop by.
we'll buy you guys dinner.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
We'll take it.
That's when I spent probably the most time with my parents. Is this just died.
No. What?
Oh wait, the power went out. I can pause. Do it real quick.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
I don't know why.
I like it.
Cool. Well, technical difficulty. I don't know.
It's
maybe that was your dad stepping in.
Yeah, my dad, he's like, well, you have all this electrical stuff. Let me just step right in here and tell you how I wired this thing properly. So I always trip that breaker.
Oh, wow. Why don't let's tell the story of Lubber's Leap. That's a classic one.
Yeah, Lubber's Leap. Yeah, this was, I think I was like 1 or 2. Yeah, probably like Leo's age.
Yeah.
And from what I've been told, and I forget most things, we were coming home from a trip, camping or something like that, and we had one of those old vans, and coming down the Taconic, deciding to can't hold a bathroom break until he gets home. I don't know how far away we were at the time, and he decides to pull over, leave the wife and kids in the car on the side of the highway, take a piss, and which is it's interesting later on. He's never learned his lesson, or never did learn his lesson, but pulls over to take a restroom break, and all these cars are going by, so he doesn't want to be showing off everything. So he decides to stand on this wall, and on the other side of the wall there was like this grassy area, and he decided to leap into that grassy area to not have to pee in front of everybody. And that was actually not a grassy area; it was the tops of trees, and he had quite a fall. I'm laughing now, but this was probably devastating to the family.
Holy
but
shit.
Fell, broke his back several spots, and never returned to the car. So I think my brother Christopher might have been looking for him, because he might have heard him scream, and he had to get airlifted out of there, and go to the hospital. And he had 2 steel rods get put into his back, and they told him, you're never going to walk again. And this is when prime his life, like 32, 34, something like that. And 2 steel rods. These things, technology back then, there's probably like 1984 or 5, and somehow, worked through it. Nothing's going to stop Bob Lubbers. That's like kind of his mentality.
He didn't have a choice.
I don't know if this formed that mentality or if he had it beforehand, but nothing was going to stop him, and he went on to live even more of a prosperous life.
Yeah.
Nothing. It was like, despite that, he was going to go do everything that he wanted to go do. And, that story repeated itself, obviously, in 2010, I think, when he got hurt again. And, another incident of just out at a job site and decided to walk out to cross the street, jaywalking Bob Lubber style. His rule was, they'll stop for me, type of city attitude. This is not something you should teach your kids.
Well, especially because his father died the same way.
Yeah, my grandfather died by getting hit by a car, but he just walked out on the highway, or out into a road in Brooklyn, and got rammed 60 miles an hour by an off-duty ambulance corps, volunteer ambulance thing, or private ambulance thing. And again, shattered his knee, knocked him unconscious, internal bleeding in the skull. And
it didn't look good. That was
a bad day.
That was a bad month. You guys were great. You and your mom were like, it seemed like you guys were like the best you've ever been, and like something you just had to fucking be there for each other. It didn't seem sad.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of lying to my mother about my dad's health and making it seem more optimistic. I think my dad would have wanted me to do that.
Yeah.
And but everybody said he's a vegetable. He's dead. Just get your family here as soon as possible. And everybody was away, so we had to get my brothers back in town. But I don't know how he possibly pulled that one off. Recovering fully from that brain injury and that knee injury, besides the brain injury, which is just a miracle upon miracles.
Yeah.
This leg injury, he literally shattered his knee, and they were like, yeah, he's gonna be a peg leg. And
Oh, wow.
they did this amazing surgery. The surgeons down there were amazing. I don't know how the hospital was a dump, but
Yeah.
the doctor down there was amazing. And then he had this drop foot situation from his recovery, but he didn't let it bother him. They were like, yeah, you're never going to be able to really walk. You can limp around. And then he's like, I don't care. And he just sat there with a rubber band just pulling his foot and was able to walk again.
Wow.
And live a couple more years.
Yeah. Well, he probably really survived for your mom. You know what I mean? That was like they're the classic couple of all classic couples. I appreciate it so much now that I feel like I'm in a couple like that.
Yeah.
Whereas this trumps all. Even if we had kids.
Yeah.
This is the thing.
That's probably why we're like, we're not gonna do the thing where we have kids, but at their age, it's probably like a little bit more expected.
Yeah.
And I guess there's a lot to be said for a choice to be together and finding the right person versus someone born into your life. I mean, I think it's a different bond.
Yeah.
Tighter in some ways, and others we have a book. I haven't read it. I read the Cliff Notes version of it about unconditional parenting and the kind of unconditional love that you have with a child, or that you want to have with a child. And that's something I'm very conscious of not having conditions to my love in any relationship. It's not like, Maria, if you act this way, then I'm not going to love you.
Yeah.
I think my parents are those unconditional love type people that I want in all my relationships. It's something to envy.
Yeah.
But it takes a lot of work. And I saw my parents put in the work, and that was actually, it doesn't relate to the story directly, but it kind of does. We were out the other day at a park just playing with Leo, and Maria was like, she's like, I just don't understand. She's like, I love the way that you're trying to raise our child, but she's like, sometimes I can't watch it. And because I try to let Leo do whatever he pleases, as long as he's not bothering somebody else, really. And I just let him go out and cause a ruckus, get very close to injuring himself. But I'm always there, 10 steps away. Maybe I should be 5 steps away. I'm not sure. But she's just like, I can't watch it, but I love that you're doing that and just letting him kind of to live his life. And because I want to set him up for success. Yeah. I don't think my dad was consciously doing that to me and my brothers, to let us go do whatever we wanted. But I'm so afraid of being the opposite, because most kids try to overcompensate for the things they didn't get when they do their parenting, and they're like, my parents never did this, so I'm going to do it. But I was like, my dad did some really great things. I want to make sure I give Leo that same thing.
Those old videos, you had videos from the mid 80s, and it's so crazy. You're fucking in diapers, down in the brook. He's barely paying attention to you. Jamie and Cricket are climbing trees that you're like, geez, it's stressful to watch this footage. Yeah. And it's crazy.
I mean, Cass was just stressed just when you guys walked in.
No, yeah, because you have the bridge over the brook that has no railing.
And Leo's just...
He's walking 10 steps ahead of you, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to walk next to Leo if we're in this. I can't do this. Yeah. So I feel for Maria in that regard.
This was honestly, I couldn't have thought of a better fucking place to have for us to grow up, and just it was just a blank canvas to do whatever we wanted. There's trails, there's woods, there's all kinds of things to discover back here. To this day, all my dreams take place down here, and I can't figure out why beyond this has been the most consistent place in my life. We moved a lot. I didn't have a lot of time in any given place. So, yeah, I think a lot of my memories take place. I know this place like the back of my hand. So all of my dreams take place between here and the deli we would go to down there, Ron's. Was that what it's called?
It was Ron's time, yeah.
It was like a 1 mile radius of here is like seems to be where my dreamscape is. And it's very strange, and a lot of our adventures just keep playing out in that world. But you know, I think we were good kids for the most part. I feel awful about like playing frog baseball. You know what I mean?
There's some
cringe.
childhood things that cringe-worthy. But you got to do it. You don't find like a good boundary in life unless you cross a line a few times.
Yeah.
And you know what it's like. Because if you live this little life like this where you've never done something you kind of regret and look back on and like cringe, you probably didn't live to the fullest extent.
Yeah.
And we did a lot of crazy things that could have left us injured, dead, friends dead.
Yeah.
Just stupid things. We all survived. I don't know how. But I think those are some of the best memories ever, and allowed me to kind of live a life of living a little bit further out than some people are comfortable with.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm trying to think of like when, like we talk about your dad being so legendary, and like my dad has similar qualities, you know, like a fuck up in a lot of ways, but like helped a lot of fucking people and still does. But like I'm like, when did we kind of become, like when did our story start? Like I know we fucked around a lot and we did our thing, and like I'm really glad that looking back, like we didn't start drinking or smoking pot in our teens, or you know what I mean? And like we were so kind of against that like when our friends, and I regret this too, like when our friends would start drinking, we'd cut them out. You know what I mean? It was just like a loss of innocence. It just felt like that was one thing I think both of our moms imparted on us. It's like, be young while you're young. Don't try to be older than you are. You know?
If they imparted it on us, I don't know how they did, but because I don't remember it being told to us, but like it was in me. And like what was the age? You know, I think I became conscious in high school.
Yeah.
And I started making some of my own decisions and things that are, I thought, like looking back on it, not drinking, but like going to the party where everybody's drinking.
Yeah.
And then I feel like I was known a little bit as the guy like, well, you know, take care of things. Like I would help prep for the party. I'd clean the party. Yeah. I'd probably hold people's hair back as they're vomiting.
Yeah.
Make sure people get home all right. Like for some reason I was worried about people and the really bad actors in high school that would take advantage of some people. And I remember having parties here when I didn't drink, and you'd see those creepers. And, like, I was just conscious enough to say, like, we're keeping an eye on that guy. We're keeping him away from that girl that might have had too much to drink. Maybe we shouldn't have given her something to drink, but okay.
That's what happens.
You know, we'll look out. And started making, I guess, evolving from there. But, you know, I think, like, I don't need to ask my parents I don't tell them about these things. That's when you're just kind of making your own decisions off in your life. And building a reputation, I guess.
I think that's when, like, because if I remember, like, man, it's so dorky to think of now, but it's kind of adorable. Like, we were as late as, like, maybe 14, 15 years old, like, excited to go sleep over grandma's for the weekend and, like, set up our Nintendo over at grandma's and play cards with her all weekend and stuff. And then my family moved down to Florida shortly after, and I feel like that's when I had an awakening. That's when you had an awakening, because I remember coming back, like, during high school, and, like, we went from just playing fucking Mario Kart, getting way too good at Mario Kart for years with just like we had 2 other friends, and that was it. You know, we had like 2 friends, and then we moved down to Florida. We started making more friends. I came back. All of a sudden, you were friends with everyone. You had a job at Lou's, the deli, and you started having parties. I think that's when the legend started to form.
Because once you lose, you know, your best friend, and you guys really suck for leaving, but like it was probably the best thing for us. Yeah. Because it opened up my world, and at the time, we had just started kind of tiptoeing into a group of people that I really didn't like. Yeah, I know who you're talking about. And I was like, why are we with these people? Yeah. And I made a decision, I think, in like 10th grade. I was like, I am cleaning house. I am not hanging out with these people anymore. Yeah. And I'm moving on to like another group of people that were maybe more interesting or more in line with my thinking at the time.
Much more hardcore. Like, we went from, hanging around with the people that were getting perfect scores in the SATs and lining their life up perfectly, athletes, like this and that, to, like, people that were barely making it through high school, people that were getting thrown in rehab. Yeah. You know, it just the fuck-ups of all fuck-ups. You know, we just ended up loving those guys. I think it had a lot to do with working at this punk rock deli, Lou's, where your brother Jamie was probably the first one of us to get a job there. Then you got in there as a beer and soda boy. You got me in there. We got Megan in there. And like it continued the tradition. But all of our friends came from there. Everyone at that deli was a punk rocker. We started getting into punk music probably middle of high school.
Yeah.
And that was a game changer. That was a big, I feel like for us, formed our values for years to come in a lot of ways. Like it gave us space to be wild, and it wasn't that wild, you know?
Yeah. And, the amount you learn by being around wild people.
Yeah.
Because, I don't know, it was just, like, I got to learn lessons kind of through other people. It's like, oh, yeah, I'm not going to do heroin. Doing, coke in the bathroom at this party, that seems stupid.
Even smoking pot did not look good. Nothing our friends were doing looked good.
Nothing looked good. But it was still, it was funny.
It was, oh, God, it was
it did not look like something I want to try on.
Yeah.
But... Yeah.
I think we prided ourselves a little bit on like having our shit together and not drinking. We weren't straight edge, but like it was just not time yet.
You had more creative pursuits, like I don't know. I feel like you guys were always up to something.
Throwing parties, prank calls. Just like we were the entertainment. We were the ones that would like get the group of people together and make shit happen.
Yeah, I like Cass's comment of we were up to something, and because I think everybody knew it, and everybody kind of silently was like, what are they doing? Even though most of the time we actually weren't doing anything.
Yeah.
They're like, what are they up to? I don't trust them.
Yeah.
And I just like that mystique. Like Sean said, we're the straight guys in the group. Like we don't have mohawks, tattoos, leather jackets or anything like that. We're just at all these parties, and we're like, these guys are up to something. We can't have this.
And in a weird way, we were. It's like it's crazy that we were like the biggest troublemakers, and we weren't doing any. That's probably why, because we had energy to spare and creativity to spare.
Yeah, and a mental awareness to get away with it.
Oh yeah, totally. We got away with everything.
Yeah.
I remember thinking that a lot of times. It's just like, is there any way to get caught doing the stuff we do and stealing so much stuff and fucking with people and
It is very, very sad these days. I saw the news headline today was some stupid TikTok craze of stealing stuff. And this is exactly what I used to do. I would steal everything I can get my hands on, and I never wanted it or needed it. And I usually ended up just putting it somewhere as a joke, to leave it somewhere.
Yeah.
People are going to these high schools and stealing, tiles off the floor.
Oh, come on.
But they're doing it on TikTok, and I was like, you're going to get caught, right? There's no way not to get caught. And I was just like, I don't know.
Amateurs.
Well, you guys were ushered in by, I think, the pro of all pros. And
Your dad
was the pro of all pros, from what I understand.
My dad
couldn't believe it.
Though we have another story about how we learned about the definition of an alibi. I think my dad always had a cover story. And there was always, when I first saw him steal something, I think I was in KB Toys, he was getting me something, and it required batteries. So he bought the toy, and the batteries were always sitting by the register. And as we were leaving, he just grabbed a bunch of batteries, threw them in the bag, and walked off.
Yeah.
And did it kind of openly, and I don't know if the cashier saw him or anything, but I saw him. I was like, I know that you're supposed to pay for those. And he's like, oh, they just left them next counter. I thought I needed them. I didn't know. And I was like, that's an interesting way to live life, of just kind of claiming ignorance, but it's kind of a planned ignorance. And when you go to the mobile mart and steal wood or, those crates of sodas.
I remember being with him once, and he's just filling the trunk with Mountain Dews, cases of Mountain Dews, because they had an outside display.
He's like, oh, I thought these were free. And I was like, it's fascinating.
We're walking out of the mall once, and they have right outside of the store, it had started raining, so they put out this display of umbrellas, and he didn't even look at them, walked by and grabbed them all, and we just got in the car. And I was uncomfortable. I was very uncomfortable with stealing. But kind of seeing how he did it, and even with his job, he would bring home stuff, and you're like, whoa, what the fuck? And I remember helping with some of that.
Yeah.
We'd go down to his work, and he'd be like, hey guys, I'm gonna go grab something from the office, so fill the back of the car with these boxes, and we didn't know what we're doing. Talk about an alibi.
Yeah. It's like, oh, I told him to pick up my briefcase. I don't know what they're doing with these boxes. But, then he gets in the car, doesn't look at what we put in the trunk until we get home, and that's like everybody's Christmas present in the family,
For years to come.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
A little bit of Robin Hood there.
Yeah, he kind of showed us, not showed us the way, but showed us like you can do stuff like that. And then I remember our first, like you were probably stealing stuff before me, and I would help you, but I remember feeling like I wouldn't do it. And then KB Toys started leaving their fucking video games outside of the store.
Yeah.
And we just
They were-
every week we would just go there and steal Sega Genesis games.
Yeah. I didn't even own a just Sega Genesis
You
game.
did it for me.
And I just took everything, and I was like, oh, Sean has it. I guess I'll just give him all these games.
Yeah, man, stealing shit. Man, does anything give you a rush in this life like that? Like that's like kleptomania is a real thing.
Oh yeah, it's been a battle in adulthood not to do it, and probably one of the scared straight moments I had. I was in court for a speeding ticket. I've never really been caught for anything I've taken, but there was these kids my age coming in jumpsuits and handcuffs for some stupid little petty larceny thing, and the embarrassment. Their families were there. They had to go talk to the judge and explain the stupidest thing that they've ever done to them. And I'm just like, yeah, I never want to do this. And that I was probably at the time I was 28 years old, and that's when I needed to learn this.
I don't know.
It went on way too long, but like starting to think of, do you want to be the guy in low HUD? Local resident gets caught, blah blah blah, and I was like, yeah,
for dumb shit,
dumb stuff.
And it's not like we never had the resources to get that stuff if we needed to or whatever.
It seems like it's more of a rush or something.
Oh yeah, it was always
It's heist.
Some of my favorite heists or taking of things was never to take it, and like sometimes I would just take it and put it somewhere else where they would never have it, and I just thought it was funny that I could take it and they would have no idea.
Yeah,
and like I didn't really want it. I don't know. It's a very, I don't know. I don't know what void I was filling at the time. But that's one of these things I don't want to pass on. But there is something about confidence, and presenting yourself in a way, like, because that was the thing. Like when you're doing, like, I would be the guy, like, because I found myself as the guy at the party helping.
Yeah.
And like, so I'm the guy that person that's hosting the party probably trusts the most. They'll be like, hey, can you go hide this somewhere? A bunch of people are about to show up.
Yeah.
Now I know what they have and what they want to hide, and now I was like, I don't know how to not take this.
I literally don't know how to not do this.
Yeah.
I have to be taught that.
Yeah. Yeah, I want my son to be the guy that's helping at the party, but not have that itch. And I don't know what it is. Yeah, I mean, it's such a, we live a privileged life, and we were given anything we've ever wanted.
Yeah.
It's not, if we wanted that Sega Genesis game, likely our parents would have bought it for us.
Yeah.
And it is a little disturbing when you think about it. I wouldn't say it's cringeworthy, but like, it is like, what were we thinking?
We weren't thinking. We probably should have just been drinking.
Well,
Yeah.
it seems.
Yeah, we needed a thrill.
Yeah.
When you were drinking, though, that probably. I mean, some of the stories you've told me, Jesse, I don't know if the statute of limitations is up or whatever. But
Most they are. I think I know which one you're going to talk about, but yeah.
But just mixing kleptomania with confidence and some drinks is probably.
And adulthood, yeah, some crazy shit.
Yeah, I remember waking up in your apartment on my phone Googling what is grand larceny. Because like at what dollar threshold do I now face like a felony charge rather than a misdemeanor? And
dude,
I was like, okay, $500. All right, I think I might be in trouble.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
that was a wild night. We went to, I don't even know. We just went to a concert. It was at some fucking big venue. There's like probably 2,000 people in there, and it was just a shit show. Like they didn't have their shit in order.
Yeah, that's like, as soon as you see that, it starts getting me thinking, okay, this place is a mess.
Yeah.
How do I take advantage? Whether it's getting free drinks, getting free people into the door, taking stuff, or just making the event go worse. Yeah. Because that would be funny. Losing power would be funny here. Like, how do we, like little things. This is how the mind works, and it's just, I don't know why that happened.
And we were in such cahoots about it, and I think that the night we're talking about, in a way, I kind of take responsibility because, like, it was such a shit show and we were so drunk. I just walked backstage at this concert, And between bands, there was a woman about to go up to, like, introduce the next performer. And I just go up to her and I'm like, should I say my thing before you or after you? And she was like, she didn't know who I was, obviously. And she was like, before. Yeah, get up there now. And I just got up on stage in front of everyone. So we were already on one that night. I got up on stage and I was just like, hey, everyone's psyched. Just want to say happy birthday to our girl, Carrie. And, like, we're on stage and we get off and we're already have those chemicals flowing through you where you're like, we can't get caught.
Yeah. You guys are the 1986 Mets.
Yeah, totally. We were the 86 Mets of kleptos. And on our way out, there's, like, these photo booths. Like, oh, hop in. Like, this guy's trying to convince us. He comes up to us. He's like, oh, you guys want a photo? And we're like, yeah, but you're coming in there with us, you crazy motherfucker. And he's like, no, I can't. I'm working. And he's like, no, come on, get in here with us. And he's like, fuck it, I'll do it. And he puts his iPad on top of the photo booth and gets in there with us. We're taking these glorious pictures. And we come out, and Jesse's, like, 15 feet ahead of us walking out. And we just follow him. And on the way out, he's like, I took that guy's iPad.
These stories like that actually make me upset because I think, like, dude, that guy had to answer for this shit.
Yeah.
Like, he was in so much shit after that. Like, I feel so... I don't even like that story. I don't even think about that story because it upsets me so much.
Yeah, because that's the line.
Yes.
There was a few times, one time in particular, where I took from an individual, and that felt wrong, and I learned that lesson. That time, it was, like, from an individual, but kind of from a company, but, like, also, like, wrong.
He was getting fired.
Back in the day with Walmart and all those places where you used to go to, all those other big box stores, that was just pure fun.
Oh,
and just,
stealing from Blockbuster?
Oh, Blockbuster, yeah.
God, a serious case could have probably been brought against from the levels we took this. I had a fake Blockbuster card that was attached to a fake credit card.
Yeah.
Just went around to every Blockbuster that we could drive to and just rented things like a normal person would never return them.
But the line there, taken for Blockbuster, but some of the times just pretending to be someone you don't like and then renting things in their name was also quite hilarious. Because, I was like, yeah, that kid was a little bit of a bully in high school. So
we got him back.
Yeah. And then he's, like, sitting there having to figure out, like, how am I going to pay $80 for this
How come I can't
movie?
get a mortgage? My credit score is shot.
Well, I want to get into hearing a little bit about.
You know what was crazy about that iPad night? We got away with it. We get out into the streets and we're like, holy shit! And we go to some other place and we have a few more beers and we're walking back by the venue on our way back home, and, like, there's kind of a VIP party going on, and we went back in there.
Yeah, we went back in.
Yeah, with that iPad in your cargo pocket.
We're like, yeah, like, they're not going to question the people that are here still. Like, that thing's gone.
Yeah.
Like, whoever took it is likely gone. They're not looking, and they're not going to be frisking people 2 hours
They're
later.
definitely not coming back into this party, whoever.
Yeah.
The time the moment I realized you had a problem is you were you were telling us how you had gone to. We'll change some details, but, like, you were at this place where there was an event hall. Maybe you were
Maybe at a wedding.
at
or
a
something.
wedding.
Definitely it was a wedding. I think I know what you're going to tell me, yeah.
You should tell this story because I think it's hilarious. I think this is one of those moments you realize, like,
like, what am I doing? Like, I was at a friend's wedding in a random town in Pennsylvania, and I had a great time at the wedding. It was just wild. This was, like, in the height of my drinking days, probably.
Yeah.
And late at night, I found my way back to the venue, and nobody was there. I think I might have been looking for a drink. I'm not sure, but I was by myself. But everything was there from the hotel that had been making the event, like microphones, speakers, like other electronic equipment, projectors,
DJ shit, lights.
And I just, like, took it all. And, like, everything I can take. And, like, first I would take something easy. Then I would, like, bring it up to the room. And then I'd come back down. Like, nobody's there yet. So I'll take another thing, take another load. And then, like, I'm sitting there, I was like, what the fuck am I going to do with all this stuff? Like, I don't have any need for a microphone and, like, a mixer or all this stuff. And I think I had ended up leaving it in the stairwell of the hotel when I checked out the next day.
Yeah, you told us you made, like, a hobo sack out of a tablecloth, and you just put everything in and tied it together and left
it. Just throwing everything on a tablecloth, and I threw it over the back. Oh God, yeah. And I was just like, what am I doing? But, like, I was just so lonely and, like, bored. I don't know what, like, and like, I could have just went to sleep and been a normal person, but, like, then I had to go do this and, like, kind of wake up at, like, what the hell's wrong with me?
I think just, like, really none of us, anyone we knew, had found themselves or had any sense of who they were. So we were just kind of just doing whatever the most fun thing was, you know. I don't know. I don't remember like us like dreaming a lot about what our futures were going to be or what kind of jobs we were going to be or like even considering any of that. We were just like working at the deli and having fun and just getting drunk and I don't know, like just honestly having the most fun fucking like I can't imagine somebody having a more fun time than we did in our 20s.
Yeah.
It was insane.
I guess it's the pros and cons of not having a dream to look forward to or like a goal.
Yeah.
I feel like you had a little bit more of that, like
Wispy.
an idea of what you wanted to do and
Yeah.
a passion.
Yeah.
I didn't have any of that, and I didn't really catch that for like another 10 years after high school. And so, yeah, you do a lot of crazy things, but then like, and you live a great life, but then like, where are you 10 years later? Like, maybe you're not as far into a goal as you want it to be, but I don't know. Like, I wouldn't trade any of that in at all. It is cringeworthy, but it is like life lessons and a path that I happily went down, I guess.
Do you remember how you started drinking?
Yeah.
Was I there?
No. You should have been. It was the last weekend before break from college. I don't know if it was my first year or my second year. And I was turning 21 later that year.
Yeah.
Or maybe I just, whatever. Turned 21 later that year, and I was invited to this frat party, and there was this girl there that I really liked, and I was like, I need to talk to her. You know, I'm going to leave college. We're going to be apart from the summer. I'm going to profess my love, and like, how do I do this? I need to get a little bit of courage.
Dutch courage, as they say.
Yeah, liquid courage. And so, you know, I think it was a Hawaiian-themed party. I have pictures from that night, and I decided to, first I started by fake drinking. So like there was like cocktails, and so I was just pouring fake cocktails and pretending I was drinking. But then I think by the end of the night, I was the guy at the party. There was always that tub of a mix of cocktails, some sort of juice, and I'm just drinking it at the end of the party, and like gulp, 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 and everybody's like chanting.
Oh
and
shit! Your first time drinking.
Classic.
But yet I still. Did I end up talking? I might have talked to the girl later that night, but I ended up escorting 2 other girls home safely from this frat party because I saw them. I was like, they're my friends. I was like, I got to make sure they get home safely. So like, I walk them home and then I go back. And I think I did tell the girl I liked her, and she's like, "What am I supposed to do with that information?" I was like, "Okay, I guess this was a mistake." So
damn. Gnarly.
And then I came home that summer, and we were all just playing like Tetris in my bedroom. This is in college. Like there's like 6 or 7 kids in my room.
Yeah, tiny room.
And then I just said, "Hey," I was like, I did drink for the first time, and everybody's like, "What the hell? Why are we like you got to drink?" And like everybody started pulling out beers.
Yeah.
Because I think you had started drinking earlier that
Probably
year.
around the same time. And the thing is, it's because all of our friends really reacted to both of us starting to drink because we were against it. We would make fun of them.
Yeah.
Like we would make fun of them constantly. I remember our friends drinking, and I'd make fun of them, smoking pot, and I would look down on them. Mushrooms, forget about it. The optics of what I thought mushrooms were compared to what they are.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, I'm never fucking doing that. What do you guys are insane.
I remember some party in like Shrub Oak. I don't want to name names, but there's 2 guys there that came there with like a bag of mushrooms, and they're like scooping in handfuls, like shoving them in their mouth, and they're just vomiting. Yeah. And I'm just like, yeah, that's something I don't really want to do.
Yeah. So by the time you and I got around to it, you know, it was a big deal because all our other friends have been drinking since they were like fucking 15 years old. And my first time was Halloween. I just drank 140 up in the cemetery and was fucking hammered. 40s were a big part
I
of
think
it.
I was there for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was wild. You know, I pretty much didn't look back, and I don't think you did either. We both got a lot more hardcore about it.
Well, if you're going to drink, you got to be the best at it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
And so, you know, we came up with all these, 40s, malt liquor, trying everything, and like...
Weren't you a Four Loko man, too?
That was later.
That was a little bit later.
At first, we were 40s, and I don't know why, but probably they're cheap, and there's just something very regal about like sitting there with your beer, you're 40, and you finish one of those, and you're like, you finish 2 of those, you're fucking nice.
Yeah.
Finish 3 of those, which that was more Jesse's move. I don't think I could. I'm like fucking blacked out after that. But we did Edward 40 hands
for my 21st birthday party.
Yeah.
Hosted by my parents.
Yeah.
We were doing Edward 40 hands, and I was like, this is fascinating that my oldest brother was here. His friends were here.
Yeah.
They're 31
Yeah.
at the time, and I was like, I think it's really funny that they're coming over to drink with us. And
with 40s taped to our hands.
Yeah.
What a fucking night. Oh my God.
Your parents in particular must have been very excited when you started to party.
yeah, they had asked me to drink like on vacations, or like, oh, take a shot of this, ha ha ha, and like,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
offering me beers, and like, again, it was like I was angry at them, and so probably drinking
Yeah.
was one of those triggers for me. Is like, I don't want to be, because like my parents, when they drank, they were really loud. Sometimes very like they would talk over each other. It was very like, and then I would
Up
like,
all night. It was
yeah,
insane.
and I was just like, I don't want to be like that.
Yeah.
I became exactly like that.
Same thing with my dad. I'm like, drugs? Forget about it. Look at you. I was so angry with him that I'd never tried anything. And then, now I love drugs. Not his. He likes shit that fucks you up. I like stuff that seems to make you smarter and more spiritual. But
Yeah.
us starting to drink was hilarious. And then, man, I'll never forget one night I'm at you're up at school in Oneonta. I'm at bowling league, because we're dorks and we were always in bowling leagues and on bowling teams and dart teams and stuff. And I was at bowling, and someone called me up and they were like, Jesse's in the hospital. And I was like, what? And it was a crazy snowstorm, and I had my Mustang, and I just ran out to the parking lot, and I was like, I'm driving up to Oneonta, and I couldn't get out of the parking lot. My wheels just were spinning. I had to leave my car there. So it was a tense night, and you were supposed to come home the next night and work with me at Lou's, the overnight shift.
Yeah.
Like, it must have been another last day of the semester type of situation.
Yeah.
You want to tell this story?
Those are always the rough ones, when you're just about to get out of there.
Yeah.
And you want to celebrate a little bit more than you can handle.
Yeah.
No, it's just
God, this is hilarious. but
pinnacle of
scary.
drinking. That's when I started messing around with Jägermeister, and mixing